Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to a very special episode of Foxborough Central. I am, of course, Bob Hickey, your host, and I'm so pleased that you've taken the time to join me and my guests today as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. And in the holiday season, one's mind starts to think of New England cold and winter and heating bills and things, but there is a reason for the season, and of course, with the holidays upon us, there are many organizations that take the time to do wonderful things for the people in and around Foxborough. The Discretionary Fund being one first and foremost, the Foxborough JCs. And, you know, being an old JC, I reached out to my friend Bob Gillis here. Bob, it's nice to have you join us this morning.
It's a pleasure, Bob. Thank you.
And I know that the JCs have a special connection, and that special connection is, of course, to Santa. Through the years, we've imposed upon our JC connections to bring Santa down to Foxborough for many events, sponsored by the JCs and others. And I reached out to you, and you were good enough to bring to me today Mr. and Mrs. Claus. Mr. Claus, may I call you Santa?
Yes, Bob, that's
Santa.
fine.
Thank you very much. I used to call him Santa when I was a child, and I feel as though I've known you for 47 years.
Yes, you have, Bob.
Yes, I have, and I've been hopefully on the good list for some of those.
Most of the time, Bob.
Well,
Your memory's failing, honey.
and of course that would be Mrs. Claus, who is the keeper of everything good and good. How are you doing today,
Very
Mrs.
good.
Claus?
Very
And I
good this
know that you are one of the best people in the world, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to come down here, and I'm just so honored to have you with me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. We have such an action-packed program today, folks. I don't know if we're going to get it in the time allotted, but we're just going to we're going to kick it in, right?
Absolutely.
So Bob, you know, as we go through this interview, and I know that you have such a busy schedule, Santa.
Yes.
And quite frankly, how do you find the time to do all these things? I'm sure that you do interviews all over the world. Plus, you show up at so many mall openings, and you do the commercials, and I see you drinking a Coca-Cola every year and having those cookies. I'm amazed. How do you do this?
No, it's very difficult with my tight schedule to fit everything in, but with the help of Mrs. Claus and some of my other elf helpers, we managed to make all the stops and get to everywhere we need to go.
And Mrs. Claus, you rely on new technologies such as these new fancy pants iPhones and iPads, or do you still go old school and keep his list on a calendar and tell him where he's got to be? I just don't see how you do it.
Well, the list is magical, and that's all we use is our old magic and keeping it fresh that way.
Because I imagine, and Bob, you can probably support me on this.
Sure.
I just don't know how you keep that household running up there. I mean, you've got Santa, and he's absolutely no help, I'm sure, during December. But I understand that getting ready for Christmas, and I've seen the specials on TV, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Jack Frost. I've seen all these specials where you're so busy up there and you're working year-round to get ready for the holidays. How do you do it up there? I mean, all those elves to feed, and I'm sure that the hired help, it's tough up there, isn't it? And plus, all the reindeer to feed.
And the weather.
And, well, the weather.
Always snowing.
Well,
always shoveling.
Santa has a great group of elves, and I have a great group of elves that help me out.
You have little elves that help you out,
We have
too?
elves that help
Did
out
not know
around the
that.
house.
You've
yes.
got kitchen elves.
I got kitchen elves.
That's
Really?
great.
Yes, household elves.
Well, and the thing is also in today's age, and women's lib in the 1970s, that was a big phenomenon down here in America. I don't know if you had that up at the North Pole.
I heard about it.
You
Bob.
heard about
Yes.
it. Okay, I'm sure you did. But with women's liberation and a realization of equality, how do you combat that with the needs that you have to be pretty much taken care of and fed year round?
Well, we operate as a team, Mrs. Claus and I, and we share a lot of our responsibility. I couldn't do this alone, so I know I lean on her and the elves for support throughout the year.
And I suppose that's the key to a happy marriage. And I think that many people here in America in particular, but around the world, with divorce rates being what they are just amazed and pleasantly so, I might say, with just the longevity of your togetherness. Where did you two first meet?
Oh, it was a long time ago.
Was it at a Christmas dance?
It just outside the North Pole. We were at, it was a dance, now that you mention it, so long
Yes,
ago.
yeah. It was the holiday dance.
Was he a little lighter on his feet back then, or was he always?
He's always been light on his feet.
Oh, that's great. I know.
Always.
Thank you.
Well, one
honey.
in talking to you, one can certainly see the love that you have, and it's just remarkable. And quite frankly, it gives me hope for the future to see, how together you two are. So speaking of socials, and of course I'm here with Bob Gillis, who is a leader in the Foxborough JCs many years, and you and I joined the JCs about the same
We
time.
did in 1993, actually.
1993.
Yes.
That was a very good year.
It was a great year for JCs.
And you know what I remember also that year for Christmas, I got a power drill, which was great because my house on Baker Street required a lot of repair, and Santa knew exactly what I needed that year.
Santa always knows exactly what you need every year.
It's amazing.
I love that.
And as we get through this program, I have letters from all the good boys and girls here
Yes.
in the area. And I'm going to read a few if that's okay. These didn't get to the post office in time because I do know that if the boys and girls do write letters to Santa and they simply address it Santa Claus of the North Pole, it will get you because we do have a first-rate postal service here in America.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I want to thank you for taking the time to come down and let me read this. So Bob, and of course for those of you who aren't JCs, you missed out on this wonderful card that went out to everybody, and I only point it out because we here in Foxborough have a loss, and this is 2013, and I know that our wish collectively is for the X to come back to our sign.
Yeah.
That's a wish that we have. So can I just put that out to you on behalf of the
Please.
17,000 or so residents here of Foxborough? We'd love to have our X back.
We're going to try and help you make that happen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sam.
We've had so many dedicated JCs and friends looking for it, and we don't know if it ran away or it's just gone, but our sign is incomplete, Santa. We need it back. Please.
You know what, Bob? The X may only be a memory on our sign, but of course it's right here on our board here for Foxborough Central. And Foxborough Central is all about the community, and the JCs, of course, are about the community. And we were talking earlier with Mr. and Mrs. Claus about how they met in a dance. But the JCs also are a great way to meet people here in town because we have
Very much
socials.
so.
And I was thinking there's a progressive dinner.
The Progressive Dinner is one of the most enjoyable projects the JCs do, and the concept is unique, and I really enjoy it. We pick a day in December, and what's very nice is we get together with, we don't call them the older JCs, we are the veteran and the seasoned JCs, with the new folks, and the idea is it's sort of a mixer. And for 2 hours, we have appetizers, and that starts about 6 in the evening, goes to 8. And that may be some wine, some cheese, crackers. Some people go all out. And then from 8 to 10, it's the dinner house. And we break up into smaller, different groups. It's not the same people. So we get to sort of mix it up a little bit. A nice intimate dinner, 6 to 8 people. People bring out their best cuisine. It's not mac and cheese or anything, and we dress up. No sweatshirts, although what you are wearing is perfect. If you ever want to come, I know it's a tough time of the year for
Thank
you,
you.
but you
you.
would
you.
always be welcome at a Progressive Dinner. But everyone brings out their culinary best, and then we go to the dessert house. And there's tables and tables filled of low-calorie, vitamin-enriched, calorie-free sweets that I enjoy tremendously. But we get everyone together there, and you get the new JCs talking to the seasoned JCs, and it's an absolutely marvelous evening. And we have a pool table there. We shoot some pool, and we talk, and just enjoy the holiday cheer. It's our dinner, just to enjoy each other, and also talk about the JCs and all the good we do all year round.
Well, I think that's amazing, particularly if there's no pool table at the house like there might be this year in Mansfield, that a pool table might magically appear.
Well, I need to talk to someone about that, and it's actually on my list.
So maybe we can talk after the program with
Please.
Santa and say, Santa,
We'll
would you
see.
please?
We'll see.
Really?
And
I've been
the
good.
key also is that the pool table may appear at our home in Mansfield. And the
That would
issue
be
with
amazing.
this is that I wanted to share is that Foxborough JC is not just about Foxborough, it's surrounding. We've got folks in Attleboro and up north. And it's really a group of young people who, and maybe veteran young people, who enjoy,
Used to be young people.
enjoy doing good work in the community. And that, of course, is one of the main I'll say reasons for the season, but it's one of the main aspects of December, if you will, that it's giving back to the community. And the Foxborough Discretionary Fund does a lot of giving back, and the JC support the Discretionary Fund. And maybe there's some projects going on for folks out there who may be thinking that they want to join the JCs or check us out. And our website is
foxboroughjcs.org. If you can't remember that, just Google Foxborough JCs. We'll come right up, and it is always updated with all of the information of what we're doing, not just at this festive time of the year, but all year round. Not just for the Foxborough community, but greater Foxborough community as well, too.
And it's a great website. Mr. Gillis is the webmaster of it. And the only problem that it still has pictures of me back when I didn't have any gray hair, and I think we need to update that.
I'll work on that with some Photoshop. I've done the same for myself.
So with the JCs meeting on the second Wednesday of every month,
Yes.
Which are open meetings and everybody's encouraged to attend, some of the I want to say charitable, but some of the good things that the JCs do. I saw that, and this is December, and of course anybody who drives to the center of town in December sees that the nativity scene is up. Have you, Mr. and Mrs. Clark, have you seen our
We
nativity
saw it
scene?
this morning
Saw
when we
it
came
coming
to
in.
town.
Beautiful.
Did you see it last
Very.
year when you came into town?
Yes, very nice.
And did you see it the year before when you came into town?
For many, many years.
60 years, I believe.
No.
60 years at
60,
JC's?
just about, give or take, just about 60 years.
That is amazing that you know. You know what, Santa, you must really know Foxborough, and I'm just
I
so
do.
E-,
Your memory is.
We
I'm
love,
amazed.
We love coming here every year.
Every year, I just believe more and more, and I want to thank you for coming out. But Bob, that nativity scene doesn't just show up, unlike a lot of your good work, by magic and a twitch of the nose.
The nativity set is pretty amazing, actually. Our town historian, Jack Othla, told me it actually goes back to the 50s, and I can attest to that because it was very well made. It's very, very heavy plaster, and some of those figures actually weigh 300 to 400 pounds and take 3 or 4 or 5 very strong men and women to lift them. We actually have them on platforms now. The JCs sort of inherited that task, and it's a task we love in the 60s or so. Not that I was there for that. However, but what happened was when the JCs built the bandstand in '72, we started putting the nativity set there. And it's a wonderful effort. Recently, we gathered together on Foxborough Common. We take it out of its secret storage place and we bring it up truck by truck and we assemble it, and then someone puts the hay down. It involves a lot of the children of the JCs who were this big and now they're teenagers and they help. But the end result is what you see. We have this absolutely magnificent nativity set right on Foxborough Common. And Bob, if I can just add, our greatest pleasure is driving around Foxborough Common and we always see someone there with a child. That happens constantly. You talk to people in town, the JCs, and they say, did you see last week someone was there with their grandchildren or whatever? And sometimes they even put in little birthday cards for Jesus in the creche, which I think is marvelous. It's one of my very favorite traditions, and the JCs are very honored to do that. We've been doing that for decades, and we're very honored, and we're going to keep doing that.
That's a great thing. And Bob, you know, it's interesting you say about the kids because really the holidays are all about the kids. And Santa, I just can't believe I'm here, and of course I'm speaking with my guests today, Mr. and Mrs. Claus, Santa. Thank you. I have some questions from some of our viewers, and I was wondering if you'd have time for me to.
Sure, go ahead.
So Betty from Foxborough wants to know, how do you stay on the roof without falling off? That's a very good question because, you know, it's something I've often wondered of myself.
Yeah, Betty, that is a very good question. And my years of experience make staying on the roof easier. When I first got started, it wasn't so easy, but being very careful and a lot of experience, I managed to do that.
And your reindeer must be well trained because that's a lot of balancing up there, plus
They
a
are.
lot of weight to pull. And I'm not
No,
talking
that's
about you.
okay.
I'm talking about there's
save, Bob.
there's roughly 49 million children in America alone.
Just America.
Just America, and so worldwide, we're talking 1.2 billion kids that you visit what is a very magical night.
And I know they're counting on me, so that helps me get through.
Well, that brings me to another question. I believe that Cheryl P. from Plainville wants to know, how on earth do you make it to all the houses all over the world?
Well, Cheryl, we just have to move quickly as fast as we can. And like I said, we know everyone is counting on us, so we just have to get through.
Mrs. Claus, I mean, with all the hours and the miles that he logs on, how do you get the big man prepared?
Well, we sit him down, we go through the list, make sure he knows where he's going. He checks it twice, always, so that everybody gets what they need and what they deserve, and we send him out with some elves to help him along the way.
I see, I see. So, you know, and again, every year on December 24th, it's Christmas Eve, and whether the weather is good or bad, whether you're in an apartment or a house, there's always that joy that one knows is coming, and it's just something so nice to rely upon. And I view it like a boxing match where the boxer is getting ready and they're in training and they're getting ready. And how do you train for this night?
Well, I do have some time to rest, which is important, that I get my rest, and just years and years of delivering to every child and every house keeps me in good shape, so I'm ready for it.
And using the boxer analogy, you hear boxers talk, Mrs. Claus, about how they get ready and things that they abstain from prior to a big boxing match. Is there anything you do special for Mr. Claus before the big night?
Well, he doesn't get any cookies before the big night.
He does
No
not
cookies?
get-
No
cookies.
cookies.
No cookies.
He gets
Well-
his fill on Christmas Eve, so we ration his cookie supply a little bit beforehand so that he has plenty of room to taste all those cookies that are left out
Well,
there.
that's wonderful. And it is all about the cookies, as I know. Chris E. from Foxborough wants to know, what is your favorite cookie? And I'm sure the fans at home are excited to hear this also, so we can all make you happy, so you'll remember Foxborough deep in your heart.
I like all kinds of cookies, but my very favorite is chocolate chip.
Chocolate
Really?
chip cookies.
I would have pictured you for a ginger snap man myself.
They're fine, but chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. And do you ever bring any presents home for Mrs. Claus, or do you eat them all on the way?
We bring home some snacks for Mrs. Claus, and because we appreciate the work that she does.
Well, I'm glad that we do. So since we're appreciating your work, and maybe the folks at home would like to know, especially all the good boys and girls who are watching, what's your favorite cookie, so that maybe we can funnel some of this goodness to you?
My favorite are the ones made with love.
Oh, that is such a nice, I tell you what, Bob, that is.
She's awesome.
She is awesome.
She's awesome.
Wow. Hey, on top of all that awesomeness, I've got
Yes.
one more question here.
Okay.
Lorene H. from Mansfield wants to know, what are you getting Mrs. Claus for Christmas?
Oh, that's a secret. I couldn't say here in front of all these people what I'm getting Mrs. Claus, but it'll be something well thought out, and she'll enjoy it.
Because we can have her hold her hands over her ears and she won't hear. You could just tell us.
I'd rather we just kept it.
Because we in Foxborough love you very much, and we want to
know.
be part of your...
I know, but it's.
And I know this Lorene person too, so I want to make sure that it's a good present.
We want a
But
surprise.
it's a
so.
surprise, but that's what I love about Santa, though. It's all about the surprise.
Yes.
You might put some things on a list, but somehow you always know exactly the other things.
I do.
It is absolutely wonderful.
That's a good question. So do you keep your... well, actually, let me ask the question, and then I'll do the follow-up.
Sure.
So Jeanette from Foxborough wants to know if she is on the naughty list this year.
Jeanette, one of my favorite stops here in Foxborough, she's on the nice list.
Is she
and
really?
She has
Good.
been for many years.
Has she? Has she ever been on the naughty list? Because she seems very concerned.
Not that I can remember, no.
So she's just an angel who's keeping it humble, just like you are.
Yes, thank you.
Because Mrs. Claus, and I'm sure you can, share. I know that Mr. Claus in the off season, he does many things for his community up in the North Pole, and I imagine it must be a robust community with all the elves living up there and the elf children. Does he do anything for the community, such as, cooking Easter dinner or officiating elf football games or anything like that? What are some of the things that Mr. Claus does?
Well, he does officiate all the reindeer games.
He does?
Yes, he does do that. Yes. And he does occasionally like to take in an elf football game. He likes to be on the line crew, moving those lines down the field. Yeah.
It must be tough, though, keeping the lines marked on snow.
It is, but he does a good job of it.
Well, it's a very important
It
job
does.
then, I would imagine. And speaking of reindeer games, I do hope, and I really do hope that you and Mrs. Claus get a chance to turn on your satellite dish and watch some of the Christmas specials that come from America.
Oh, we will.
We've got some great ones, and I know
We
you've
will.
seen them before.
Yes. Oh, many times, many times.
And I tell you, that's where I've learned most of my history about you. In fact, there's
Yes.
the one that showed how you became, because I know that Santa takes over the mantle, and Tim Allen did a great film.
Very good.
I thought it was a documentary showing about how the new Mr. Claus comes about. And so I just want to thank you so much for your years of service. It's been wonderful.
You're welcome.
Being on the receiving end, I've enjoyed your work tremendously.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much. So I have another question from, if we have time.
Oh, absolutely. I always have time to talk about it. You know that.
Because I also do want to touch on a couple of the other projects that the JCs do, because it is not
Sure.
all fun and games, although the Progressive Dinner is a wonderful event, and we also get dressed up, and so the women are in the nines and the men, well, we do our best.
We do our
So
best.
We do our best.
We really do.
But it's a wonderful evening to see everybody dressed up in their best and to meet new people and see
True.
old friends. And the JCs do other good work, so there's a reason to join the JCs in addition to the nativity scene, and also I know there's some banners going up around Foxborough every year. They do. I shouldn't say we anymore because I really.
You're still part of it.
Oh, thank you
You're
very
still part
much.
of
Thank
it.
you. I'm a week.
One of our former presidents, actually.
I'm a
Key
week
man.
in Weirwell. You're a key man as well. So the congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. With Mutual Admiration Society going here, but thank you.
There you go. Some of the good works. What are some of the projects that the JCs are doing this year and every year that make Foxborough a better place?
During this time, or just in general, or
Let's go with this some. Let's stay with the holiday theme.
with the holiday theme? There's a lot, actually. You had mentioned the discretionary fund earlier, a very, very important organization in Foxborough. A lot of people think of Foxborough as a very affluent community, and there's that, but there's also a lot of need in Foxborough. And I think that's why the magic that the two of you bring is so important, because both of you bring a lot of hope. And the discretionary fund does too. And one of the ways the JCs help with that, a lot of people don't know this, but the Foxborough Discretionary Fund is also responsible for the food pantry, which makes sure that needy folks get food, and everyone gets a Christmas dinner. Everyone who's needy gets a Christmas dinner. And for many years, the JCs have been putting together these fruit baskets to go with the food baskets. And in the early days, when you and I were doing it 18, 20 years ago, it was maybe 50 baskets or so. We now do 250 baskets. And what's interesting is, you had mentioned fun and games. It's still fun for us. It's one of our most enjoyable projects. And I see some of the joy. I have to be honest, I'm a little nervous sitting next to the two of you, really, just to meet you in
Isn't
person.
this-
It really is. You know,
it's the star power in this room.
it's incredible.
is-
It's the JCs will tell you it's not often at all that I'm at a loss for words, but I'm just in celebrity awe here. I really am, and I just want to thank him for the train when I was 5. It's just thank you for that, really.
You're welcome, Bob.
But to see you too. But honestly, we talk about the fun and games. Putting together those fruit baskets, we get all the JC kids. There must be 40, 50 people at that event when we do it, and it's an assembly line, and we put them together. And Brigham and Women Hospital has been making a donation and also helping us out for many years with that, and it's wonderful. It's a small thing, but it's a basket of lovely fruit that we send along with just a little JC love. And it's a small thing, but it's those little things you do that can make a very powerful difference and give some people just a little more cheer, a little more hope, just a little bit.
Well, the JCs at a local level do the best to make the holidays a great season, and Santa on a global scale does his best to make the holidays a given season. So what is your one hope, if you will, that the good boys and girls, and even the adults who are maybe a little bit taller boys and girls, this year will do?
I would just like to think that everyone would be good to their fellow man and their family, and show that love and togetherness. That's what we like to see.
Those are good words. That's a good thought. Connor P. here in Foxborough. Speaking of the food issue, where it's 250 fruit baskets
Yes.
this year, where do you get? And maybe I'll direct this to Mrs. Claus, because I know you're busy making Etch-a-Sketches and things. Or supervising that, by the way. Where on earth up in the North Pole, given its zero growing season, do you get all the fodder for the reindeer?
Well, of course, from my mother.
Mrs. Claus has a sense of humor. I love
I
that.
like Mrs. Claus.
I love her.
I bet she'd be fun to go out with. What do you think, folks? All right, I've got one final question for you, Santa, and time is fleeting. And I know that time is magical with you anyway, but it seems like you've just twitched your nose and it's already gone. Colin from Plainville wants to know, how do you stay warm? And this is a very good question because many of us are concerned about you flying around all night long, and the wind chill must be horrible.
Must be horrible, absolutely. It must be freezing.
And we've seen the sleigh, particularly the one in that wonderful movie where Zooey Deschanel sang, Elf, with Will Ferrell. We saw that your sleigh is an open air sleigh.
It's wide open.
Not, it's not encumbered.
It's wide
open. There's no bubble. It's really exposes you to the elements.
Well, Colin, thank you for asking the question. But a couple of things. I dress very warmly. That's with the beard and the hair and all that work, all those houses constantly moving to see all those children. Just keeps me warm and just the good feeling that I have inside.
Well, that's wonderful. And, you know, one can really sense your sincerity because the good feeling that you have, you know, we can feel it in the room, Bob, can't we?
It's an amazing experience. It really is, just to sit with the two of you and just have this very powerful energy. It's good. It's just good energy and a spirit of giving and charity and kindness. It's wonderful to be here. I'm very honored.
Well,
I really am.
As we wrap up, and folks at home and all the good boys and girls, I hope you've enjoyed this sit down with Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. If you or your adult parents, or if you're an adult without children, and you want to meet some other like-minded, community-spirited peers, you should check out the Foxborough JCs. They meet the second Wednesday of every month at the South Foxborough Community Center starting at 8 o'clock. And of course, you can check them out at their website at www.foxboroughjcs.org. It's a wonderful organization that does a lot of giving, and they have a lot of fun doing it. And then for all of you out there who cannot wait for the big day coming up, I'm going to give Santa the last word. And Mrs. Claus, before we do that, I just want to thank you so much for coming out.
Oh, you're welcome,
And it
Bobby.
is such a pleasure being able to just spend this little bit of time
Well,
talking
thank you for
to
having us. We
Thank you.
enjoyed it. Thank
And
you.
It's
It was
an
a
honor.
pleasure
It is
seeing
an
you
honor
again.
meeting you again. Thank
Santa.
you.
Well, first, Bob, thank you for having us here. Foxborough is one of our favorite places, and being on your show here today. And Bob, thank you for coming out and telling us about the wonderful things that the JCs are up to these days. And
Thank you,
I'd just
Santa.
like to say to everyone out there, especially the children, to just keep being good and being nice, and everything will work out.
Well,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you. And Bob, do you have any last words for the JCs?
No, I think I'm going to leave it to Santa to have the last word. This is Santa and Mrs. Claus's season.
That's very appropriate. And on behalf of all of us at Foxborough Cable Access, I want to take a special time now to thank the folks who bring this show to you every week. Betty Travers and Deb Storrs are my wonderful camera operators who come out here week after week and tolerate me, which is no small feat for those of you who know me. Gary Nash behind the glass, who really puts this all together. And of course, our wonderful executive director, Michael Weber, and Lauren Batar, who is here in the office and keeps it all running and puts me on the air. I always like to give a shout out to Lauren because she's the one who schedules us to come to you. If you want to see a replay of this, always check us out at www.fcatv.org, or you can stop by our studios at 28 Central Street here in beautiful downtown Foxborough and find out how you can volunteer for this wonderful organization. On behalf of everybody here at Cable Access, I am wishing you and your family a wonderful holiday, happy Christmas, and many happy returns. Take care, Foxborough.